My name is Grace. I'm 28 years old, and I'm the heir to one of New York's most powerful investment families. For 4 years, I thought I had the perfect marriage with Ryan Lambert, CEO of Lambert Industries. I supported his career, used my family connections to help his business grow, and believed his promises that I was the only woman he'd ever truly loved. Until the day a 7-year-old boy ran up to my husband outside his office building and called him daddies. Ryan's face went white as he pushed the child away, saying coldly, "Whose kid is this?" So rude. But I recognized the woman who came running after the boy, Lily Wu, Ryan's secretary and supposedly just a hard-working single mother. What Ryan didn't know was that I'd already discovered he'd been secretly supporting them for 2 years. What he really didn't know was that I'd just received DNA test results that would shatter everything he thought he knew about his perfect little secret family. The child wasn't his son at all, and the truth about who the real father was would destroy not just Ryan, but everything he'd built. I was walking toward Lambert Industries' glass tower in downtown Manhattan, planning to surprise Ryan for our 4th wedding anniversary, when I saw it happen. A small boy with dark hair broke away from the crowd of office workers and launched himself at my husband's legs, wrapping his arms around Ryan's knees with pure joy. "Daddy, Daddy, I finally found you." The child's voice carried across the busy sidewalk, and I watched several people turn to stare. Ryan's face went through a series of expressions: shock, panic, and then cold anger before he roughly pushed the boy away. "Whose kid is this? So rude and undisciplined." His voice was harsh, completely unlike the gentle tone he used with children at family gatherings. The little boy stumbled backward, his face crumpling with confusion and hurt. "But Daddy, I'm Noah. Why don't you recognize me?" That's when I saw her. Lily Wu came running from the building's entrance, her heels clicking frantically on the pavement. She was perfectly put together as always: designer blouse, tailored skirt, her long black hair swept into an elegant bun. But her face showed pure terror. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Lambert, Mrs. Lambert," she said breathlessly, scooping the crying child into her arms. "I wasn't watching him carefully enough. He got confused and bothered you." She pressed the boy's face against her chest, muffling his protests. "Noah, apologize to Mr. Lambert. You can't just run up to random people and call them daddy." "But Mommy, that is my daddy. You showed me his picture enough." Lily's voice was sharp. She turned to us with an apologetic smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm truly sorry. He's been asking about his father lately, and I think he's just confused. We'll get out of your way." Ryan stood frozen, his jaw clenched tight. I could see a muscle twitching in his cheek, something that only happened when he was under extreme stress. "No harm done," I said calmly, though my heart was pounding. Children can be unpredictable. As Lily hurried away with the still crying boy, I linked my arm through Ryan's. His entire body was rigid with tension. "Well, that was strange," I commented lightly. "Poor kid seemed so convinced." "Kids have wild imaginations," Ryan replied, his voice carefully neutral. "We should head inside. I have a conference call in 10 minutes. But I'd already seen everything I needed to see. The way the child's features mirrored Ryan's own, the panic in Lily's eyes, the fact that she'd called me Mrs. Lambert when she'd only ever addressed me as Grace before. Most telling of all was Ryan's reaction. My husband was many things, but he'd never been cruel to children. His harsh rejection of that little boy was the desperate act of a man trying to protect a secret. As we rode the elevator to the executive floor, I studied Ryan's reflection in the polished steel doors. He was staring straight ahead, but I could see the wheels turning in his mind. Probably calculating damage control? Ryan, I said softly, "Is there anything you want to tell me?" He turned to look at me, his expression perfectly composed now. This was the face he wore during difficult business negotiations, calm, controlled, revealing nothing. About what? About anything. Our anniversary is today. I thought maybe we could start it with complete honesty. For just a moment, something flickered in his eyes. Guilt, maybe, or fear. Then his professional mask slipped back into place. Of course. "Darling, I love you. That's the only honesty that matters." The elevator doors opened, and Ryan stepped out first, already pulling out his phone. "I really do have that call. Rain check on anniversary lunch." I nodded, watching him disappear into his corner office. Through the glass walls, I could see him pacing as he spoke into his phone, his free hand running through his hair in the gesture I'd learned meant he was in crisis mode. Instead of leaving, I walked to the reception desk where Sarah, the main receptionist, was sorting through mail. "Sarah, could you help me with something? I'm trying to reach Lily Wu, but I don't have her extension." "Oh, she's not in today," Sarah said without looking up. "Called in sick this morning. Something about her son being unwell. Interesting. Lily had seemed perfectly healthy 10 minutes ago. I hope her little boy feels better soon." "Noah, isn't it such a sweet child?" Sarah's hand stilled over the mail. She looked up at me with surprise. "You know about Noah. Lily's usually so private about her personal life. We've met a few times." I lied smoothly. "He's about 7. "Right. Looks just like his mother. Actually, I always thought he looked more like—" Sarah caught herself, her face flushing. "I mean, genetics are funny, aren't they? Sometimes children don't look like either parent." But she'd been about to say something else. Something about who Noah resembled. I chatted with Sarah for a few more minutes, gathering small details. Lily had started working at Lambert Industries exactly 2 years ago. She'd been hired directly by Ryan, bypassing the usual HR process. She often stayed late, working on special projects that required after-hours access to Ryan's office. And Noah had been coming to the office occasionally for the past year, though Lily usually kept him in the employee break room on the lower floors. By the time I left the building, I had enough pieces to see the outline of the puzzle. My husband had been supporting his ex-girlfriend and her child for 2 years, right under my nose. The woman I'd welcomed into our social circle, whose career advancement I'd encouraged, had been playing the long game all along. But as I walked back to my car, I found myself thinking about the DNA test results I'd received that morning, the ones that had prompted me to surprise Ryan at his office in the first place, because while everyone seemed to think Noah looked like Ryan, the test results told a very different story, one that would destroy more than just my marriage when the truth came out. I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the number for my private investigator. "Marcus, it's Grace Chen. I need you to dig deeper into the Wu family history. Specifically, I want to know everything about Lily Wu's time in California 12 years ago. And I mean everything." If Ryan thought he could play games with my life, he was about to learn just how dangerous it was to underestimate a Chen. The real game was just beginning. That evening, Ryan came home with an enormous bouquet of white roses and a jewelry box from Tiffany. He'd changed into his best suit and had made reservations at Le Bernardin, all the gestures of a devoted husband celebrating 4 years of marriage. "Happy anniversary, my love," he said, kissing my cheek as he handed me the flowers. "I'm sorry about rushing off today. That deal with the Singapore investors is heating up." I smiled and accepted the roses, though I noticed his hands were trembling slightly. "It's fine. I know how important your work is." The jewelry box contained a diamond tennis bracelet, beautiful, expensive, and completely impersonal. The kind of gift a man buys when he's trying to assuage his guilt. "It's lovely," I said, letting him fasten it around my wrist. "Thank you." During dinner, Ryan was attentive in all the right ways. He ordered my favorite wine, reminisced about our honeymoon in Tuscany, and told me how grateful he was to have me in his life. To anyone watching, we would have looked like the perfect Manhattan power couple, but I could see the cracks beneath his performance. The way he checked his phone every few minutes, how he startled when the waiter approached our table, the fact that he barely touched his food despite claiming to be starving. "You seem distracted tonight," I observed, twirling my linguine. "Everything okay? Just work stress. You know how it is." "Actually, I wanted to talk to you about that. I've been thinking about taking a more active role in supporting your business." Ryan's fork paused halfway to his mouth. "What do you mean?" "Well, my family's investment firm has been looking for new opportunities. Lambert Industries has shown such impressive growth lately. Maybe it's time we formalized our support." The color drained from Ryan's face. A formal investment from Chen Capital would mean financial audits, board oversight, and complete transparency in his business operations. All things that would expose whatever he'd been hiding. That's very generous, Grace. But I don't want our personal relationship to complicate business matters. "Oh, but it wouldn't be personal," I said sweetly. "It would be purely professional. Due diligence, financial reviews, background checks on all key employees, standard procedure for any significant investment." Ryan set down his fork and reached for his wine glass, draining half of it in one gulp. "Grace, darling, I appreciate the offer." But his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and immediately tensed. "I'm sorry. I need to take this. It's an emergency." He stepped away from the table, but I could still see him through the restaurant's windows. Pacing on the sidewalk with the phone pressed to his ear, his body language was agitated, his free hand gesturing wildly. When he returned 5 minutes later, he looked like he'd aged a decade. "Everything all right?" I asked innocently. "Fine. Just a situation at one of our construction sites. Nothing that can't wait until tomorrow." But his hands were shaking again, and he'd broken out in a light sweat despite the restaurant's air conditioning. "Actually," he said, signaling for the check, "I think we should head home. I'm not feeling well." During the car ride back to our penthouse, Ryan was silent except for the occasional ping of text messages on his phone. Each notification made him more agitated. Finally, I couldn't resist poking the bear. "You know, I ran into your secretary today, Lily Wu." Ryan's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "Oh, yes, she was leaving the building with her son. Sweet little boy. He has such distinctive features. I wouldn't know. I don't pay attention to employees' children. Really, because he seemed to know you quite well." Ryan pulled the car over so abruptly that my seatbelt locked. We were on a quiet side street near Central Park, the city lights casting shadows across his face. "Grace, what exactly are you trying to say?" His voice was low, dangerous. This was a side of Ryan I rarely saw, the ruthless businessman who could destroy competitors without blinking. I'm not trying to say anything. I'm just making conversation about our day. Cut the games. If you have something to ask me, ask it directly. I turned in my seat to face him fully, my voice calm and level. Fine. Are you having an affair with Lily Wu? The silence stretched between us like a taut wire. Ryan stared out the windshield, his jaw working. No, he said finally. I am not having an affair, but you have history with her. Another pause. We knew each other years ago, before I met you, and the child is not mine, technically. That was true. Based on the DNA results I'd received, Noah Wu was definitely not Ryan's biological son. But the way Ryan's voice cracked on the word mine told me there was much more to the story. I see, I said. Well, that clears everything up then. Ryan started the car again, and we drove the rest of the way home in silence. But I could practically hear the gears turning in his head, trying to figure out how much I knew and how much damage control he needed to do. Back at our apartment, Ryan immediately disappeared into his home office, claiming he needed to handle the construction emergency. Through the closed door, I could hear him making phone call after phone call, his voice rising and falling in urgent conversation. I went to our bedroom and opened my laptop, pulling up the secure folder where I kept the information my private investigator had gathered over the past 6 months. Photos of Ryan and Lily at business dinners that had gone late into the night, credit card receipts for expensive gifts, toys, clothes, medical bills all purchased during hours when Ryan claimed to be in meetings, bank records showing regular transfers from a private account I didn't know existed, and most damning of all, the lease agreement for a luxury apartment on the Upper West Side, paid for by a shell company registered under Ryan's name. My husband had been living a double life, and he'd been very good at it. If Noah hadn't had that public outburst today, I might never have connected all the pieces. But now I had something even better than proof of an affair. I had proof of something that would destroy Ryan's reputation, his business, and his relationship with his own family. Because the DNA test I'd run wasn't just to determine if Noah was Ryan's son, it was to determine whose son he actually was. And when I'd seen the results that morning, I'd realized I was dealing with something much darker than a simple affair. Noah Wu was Ryan's half-brother, which meant that 12 years ago, when Lily Wu was just 16 years old, Ryan's father, Robert Lambert, respected businessman and pillar of the community, had gotten a teenage girl pregnant. And now that girl was back, using her traumatic past to manipulate my husband, while Ryan unknowingly helped support the child who was actually his father's son. It was time to decide whether to save my marriage or destroy it. But first, I needed to confirm one more thing. I picked up my phone and dialed, "Marcus, it's Grace. I need you to run another DNA test. This time, I want to compare Noah Wu's sample with Robert Lambert's. Because if I was going to burn down Ryan's world, I was going to make sure I had all the evidence I needed to watch it burn completely." 3 days later, I received the confirmation I'd been waiting for. The second DNA test showed a 99.7% probability that Robert Lambert was Noah Wu's biological father. I sat in my office at Cheng Capital, staring at the test results, feeling a mixture of disgust and cold satisfaction. Robert Lambert, the man who'd bounced me on his knee at family gatherings, who'd given touching speeches at our wedding about how lucky he was to have me as a daughter-in-law, had raped a 16-year-old girl 12 years ago, and his son had been unknowingly supporting his half-brother ever since Lily had maneuvered her way back into their lives. My phone buzzed with a text from Ryan. "Working late again tonight. Don't wait up. Love you." The same lie he'd been telling for months. I knew exactly where he was at the Upper West Side apartment, probably helping Noah with homework while Lily played the grateful single mother. It was time to set my trap. I opened my laptop and began typing an email to the board of directors at Lambert Industries. "Dear board members, I am writing to propose a formal partnership between Chen Capital and Lambert Industries. Given the impressive growth trajectory of Ryan Lambert's company, we believe now is the optimal time to discuss a significant equity investment." The email went on to outline the terms of a potential $50 million investment, enough money to take Lambert Industries to the next level, but contingent on a complete financial audit and background checks on all senior employees. Ryan would have to choose, accept the money and risk exposure, or refuse and explain to his board why he was turning down the opportunity of a lifetime. I scheduled the email to send first thing Monday morning, then made another call. "Summer, it's Grace. I need a favor." Summer Hayes had been my roommate at Columbia and was now one of the most successful family law attorneys in Manhattan. More importantly, she had no love for cheating husbands after her own divorce. "What's going on?" she asked immediately. "You sound different. I need you to draw up divorce papers. But I don't want to file them yet. I want them ready for when the time is right." There was a pause. "Grace, what did Ryan do?" I gave her the condensed version, the secret family, the financial deception, the years of lies. I left out the part about Robert Lambert. That revelation would come later, when it could do maximum damage. Jesus Christ. Summer breathed. "How long have you known?" "I've suspected for months. I've had proof for 3 days." "Why haven't you confronted him?" "Because confronting him gives him the chance to control the narrative. I want him to destroy himself." Summer was quiet for a moment. "Grace, I've known you for 10 years, and I've never heard you sound this cold. Are you sure you want to go down this road?" He made the choice to lie to me for 2 years. He made the choice to use my family's connections to build his business while secretly supporting another woman. I'm just making sure he faces the consequences. All right, I'll have the papers ready by Wednesday. But Grace, when this comes out, it's going to be ugly. Manhattan society loves a scandal, especially when it involves old money families like yours and the Lamberts. Let them talk. I'd rather be the wronged wife than the fool who stayed. After I hung up with Summer, I spent the evening planning my next moves. Ryan thought he was so clever, compartmentalizing his life so neatly, but he'd made one crucial mistake. He'd underestimated me. The man I'd married was brilliant at business but terrible at personal relationships. He'd never learned to read people the way I had. Growing up in the Chen family meant learning to navigate complex social and business dynamics from childhood. Every dinner party was a chess game. Every conversation had subtext, and survival meant always staying 3 moves ahead. Ryan had been playing checkers while I'd been playing chess. Monday morning arrived gray and rainy, matching my mood perfectly. I dressed carefully in my sharpest business suit, Armani, navy blue, with the diamond tennis bracelet Ryan had given me for our anniversary. I wanted to look like exactly what I was, old money, serious business, not to be trifled with. At 9 a.m. sharp, my email hit the inboxes of Lambert Industries board members. By 9:15, my phone was ringing. "Grace!" Ryan's voice was tight with stress. "I just got a very interesting call from the board." "Oh, They're very excited about Chen Capital's investment proposal. They want to schedule an emergency meeting this afternoon to discuss terms. I could hear the forced calm in his voice, the same tone he used when he was trying not to lose his temper during difficult negotiations. That's wonderful. Darling, I told you my family was interested in supporting your growth. You should have discussed this with me first. Should I have? It's business. Ryan, I thought you'd be pleased. There was a long pause. We need to talk. Tonight, no excuses, no emergencies, no interruptions. Of course, I'll cook dinner. We can discuss it then. But I knew there would be no discussion. By tonight, Ryan would be in full panic mode, trying to figure out how to extract himself from the web of lies he'd created. I spent the day making final preparations. I transferred money to a secure account Summer had helped me set up. I made copies of all the evidence my investigator had gathered. I even had my housekeeper pack a bag and store it at my office, just in case. At 6 p.m., Ryan came home looking like he'd been hit by a truck. His usually perfect hair was disheveled. His tie was crooked, and there were dark circles under his eyes. Grace, we need to talk about this investment proposal. Would you like a drink first? You look like you need one. He nodded gratefully, and I poured him a scotch, his favorite. The expensive stuff he saved for celebrations and crises. The board is thrilled, he said after taking a large sip. They see this as Lambert Industries' big break, but you don't. Ryan sat down heavily on our couch, running his hands through his hair. It's complicated. How so? There are aspects of my business that might not stand up to the kind of scrutiny Chen Capital would require. I sat down across from him, my expression carefully neutral. What kind of aspects? Nothing illegal, he said quickly. Just creative accounting, the kind of flexibility that small companies sometimes need to stay competitive. It was almost impressive how he could make embezzlement sound like smart business strategy. Ryan, if there are financial irregularities, Chen Capital's auditors will find them. It's better if we discuss them now, privately, so we can address any issues before they become problems. He drained his scotch glass and looked at me with something approaching desperation. Grace, I need you to withdraw the investment proposal. I can't do that. The board has already approved moving forward. If I suddenly pulled out now, it would raise questions about Lambert Industries' stability. The rumors alone could tank your stock price. Ryan stood up and began pacing, his movements jerky and agitated. Then what do you suggest? Full disclosure. Tell me everything, and we'll figure out how to handle it together. We're married. Ryan, we're supposed to be a team. For a moment, I thought he might actually confess everything. His shoulders sagged, and he looked at me with genuine anguish. Grace. He started to speak, then stopped as his phone buzzed with a text message. He glanced at the screen and immediately tensed. I need to step out for a minute. There's an emergency. What kind of emergency? Just work stuff. I'll be right back. He grabbed his jacket and headed for the door, leaving me alone in our apartment with his half-finished scotch and the weight of all his lies. But this time, I was ready for him, because while Ryan had been panicking about financial audits and board meetings, I'd been setting up something much more devastating. Tomorrow, Lily Wu would receive a very interesting phone call that would change everything. And Ryan Lambert would finally learn what it felt like to have his carefully constructed world come crashing down around him. 3 days passed in tense silence. Ryan went to work each morning and came home each evening, but we barely spoke beyond polite pleasantries. He was waiting for me to make the next move. and I was happy to let him stew in his anxiety. On Thursday evening, everything came to a head. I was in my home office when I heard Ryan's key in the front door, followed immediately by multiple sets of footsteps. Voices Ryan's, definitely, but also a woman's voice and a child's. He'd brought them home. I closed my laptop and walked to the living room, where I found Ryan standing awkwardly by the door with Lily, Wu, and Noah. The little boy was pressed against his mother's side, his eyes wide as he took in our expensive apartment. "Grace," Ryan said, his voice strained. "We need to talk. All of us." Lily looked terrible. Her usually perfect appearance was disheveled, her face gaunt with stress. She was clutching Noah's hand so tightly that her knuckles were white. "Mrs. Lambert," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I'm sorry to intrude on your home, but we need your help." "My help?" I looked at Ryan, who was avoiding my eyes. "What's going on?" "Someone's been threatening Lily," Ryan said, making phone calls, following her, asking questions about her past. "She's scared for Noah's safety." "What kind of threats?" Lily stepped forward, her composure cracking. "They know about 2012, about what happened in California. They're going to destroy me unless I disappear." "What happened in 2012? The question hung in the air like a loaded gun. Ryan and Lily exchanged a look that told me everything I needed to know. "Grace," Ryan said carefully, "there are some things that are better left in the past." "I disagree." "Sit down, all of you." I gestured to the seating area, watching as they arranged themselves like guilty children called to account. Noah climbed onto his mother's lap, still staring at me with those dark eyes that looked so familiar. "Now," I said, settling into my chair with the authority that came from growing up in a family where power was inherited, not earned. "Someone is going to tell me exactly what happened in 2012, or you can all leave my home right now." Lily's composure finally cracked completely. Tears started streaming down her face as she buried her face in Noah's hair. "I was 16, she whispered. "I was working at a hotel in Los Angeles. My family needed the money, so I took a job cleaning rooms during summer break." Ryan's face had gone white, but he didn't interrupt. "There was a guest," Lily continued, her voice getting stronger. "An older man, very wealthy, very powerful. He said if I didn't do what he wanted, he'd make sure I never worked anywhere again, that my family would lose their apartment." I leaned forward, though I already knew where this was going. "What was his name?" Lily looked at Ryan, who closed his eyes as if in pain. "Robert Lambert," she said quietly. "Ryan's father." Noah looked up at his mother, confusion evident on his young face. "Mommy, why are you crying?" "It's okay, baby," Lily said, kissing the top of his head. "Mommy's just sad about something that happened a long time ago." I let the silence stretch, watching Ryan struggle with the weight of what had just been revealed. His father, the man he idolized, had raped a 16-year-old girl. "How long did this go on?" I asked. 3 months, Lily replied, "until he checked out of the hotel. I found out I was pregnant a few weeks later, and you never reported it." Lily laughed bitterly. "Report it to who?" "I was an illegal immigrant working under a fake name. He was Robert Lambert, worth hundreds of millions of dollars." "Who do you think they would have believed?" Ryan finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "I didn't know." "Grace, I swear to God, I didn't know any of this when Lily came to work for me." "When did you find out?" 6 months ago. She told me everything when the DNA test came back, showing Noah wasn't mine. She explained why she'd sought me out, why she'd applied for the job." I turned to Lily, You were looking for revenge. I was looking for justice, she said fiercely. For acknowledgement, for some kind of accountability for what he did to me, by seducing his son, by making him face the consequences of his actions. I thought if Ryan knew what kind of man his father really was, he might help me. Help you how? Ryan answered this time. She wanted me to confront my father, to make him acknowledge what he'd done and provide financial support for Noah. And did you? I tried, but he denied everything. Said Lily was just another gold digger trying to extort money from our family. He threatened to disinherit me if I pursued it. I looked at Noah, who had fallen asleep in his mother's arms. Exhausted by the emotional upheaval, he couldn't fully understand. He looked so much like the Lambert men, the same strong jawline, the same dark eyes, the same stubborn chin. So you decided to support them yourself. What choice did I have? Ryan said desperately. She showed me medical records proving she was 16 when Noah was conceived. She had hotel employment records, photographs, even some of my father's personal items that he'd left behind. I couldn't just ignore it. You could have come to me and say what? That my father is a rapist, that I've been unknowingly helping to cover up his crimes. Grace, this would destroy our family. It would destroy Lambert Industries, everyone who works for us, everyone who depends on us. So you decided to handle it by lying to your wife and embezzling money from your company. Ryan flinched at the word embezzling, but he didn't deny it. I was trying to protect everyone except me. I was trying to protect you too. If this came out, if there was a scandal, I can handle scandal. Ryan, I can't handle being married to a liar. Lily looked up from Noah's sleeping form. Mrs. Lambert, I never wanted this to hurt your marriage. I needed someone to believe me, to acknowledge what happened to me. And now someone is threatening to expose all of this. Yes, someone who knows everything. They've been calling, demanding that I leave New York and never contact the Lambert family again, or they'll release everything to the press. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the glittering lights of Manhattan. Behind me, I could hear Lily's quiet sobs and Ryan's whispered reassurances. They had no idea that the person threatening to expose their secret was sitting in the same room with them. What do you want from me? I asked without turning around. Protection, Ryan said immediately. Your family has connections, resources. If we work together, we can make this go away quietly. You want me to help you cover up your father's crimes? I want you to help me protect innocent people from being destroyed by something that happened 12 years ago. I turned back to face them. Ryan looked desperate. Lily looked broken. And Noah slept peacefully in his mother's arms, unaware that his very existence was about to tear apart one of New York's most powerful families. I need time to think about this, I said finally. Grace time. Ryan, this is not a decision I can make lightly. Ryan nodded reluctantly. Of course. Take all the time you need. In the meantime, you can stay in the guest room tonight. All of you. It's not safe for Lily and Noah to go back to their apartment if someone's watching them. Relief flooded Ryan's face. Thank you. Grace, thank you so much. As they settled into the guest room down the hall, I returned to my office and opened my laptop. I had calls to make, arrangements to finalize, because while Ryan thought I was considering whether to help them, I'd already made my decision. Robert Lambert was going to pay for what he'd done to Lily Wu. Ryan was going to pay for lying to me for 2 years. And I was going to make sure that when the dust settled, I was the only one left standing. The game was about to reach its final stage, and I held all the winning cards. I waited until 3 a.m. to make my move. The apartment was silent except for the distant hum of traffic far below. Ryan was sleeping fitfully in our bed. While Lily and Noah were in the guest room, I'd heard them talking in hushed voices until nearly midnight, probably planning their next moves. But they had no idea what was coming. I slipped into my home office and powered up my laptop, opening the secure files I'd been building for months, screenshots of bank transfers, photographs of Ryan with Lily and Noah, hotel receipts, DNA test results, everything I needed to destroy the Lambert family completely. But first, I needed to set the stage perfectly. I opened my email and began typing. To Board Lambert Industries, from Grace, Chen Capital, subject, urgent, Chen Capital investment status, dear board members. After careful consideration and due diligence, Chen Capital must unfortunately withdraw our investment proposal for Lambert Industries. During our preliminary review, we have discovered financial irregularities and undisclosed conflicts of interest that make this partnership untenable. We will be forwarding our findings to the appropriate regulatory authorities. Sincerely, Grace Chen Senior Partner. Chen Capital. I scheduled the email to send at 8 a.m., just as the markets opened. By 9 a.m., Lambert Industries stock would be in free fall. Next, I composed a much longer email to the investigative reporter at the Wall Street Journal who'd been digging into corporate scandals involving family businesses. Sarah Chen was known for her meticulous fact-checking and her ability to protect sources while destroying targets. Sarah, I have a story that will interest you greatly. Attached, you'll find documented evidence of sexual assault of a minor by a prominent businessman, corporate embezzlement to cover up the resulting scandal, DNA evidence proving paternity of the victim's child, financial fraud spanning multiple years. The principal figures are Robert Lambert, Lambert Industries, his son Ryan Lambert, current CEO, and the victim, Lily Wu. All documentation has been verified by independent sources. I can provide additional evidence and testimony as needed. This story will break with or without the WSJ. I'm offering you the exclusive because of your reputation for thorough, ethical reporting. Grace Chen. I attached every piece of evidence I had, then scheduled that email to send at 6 a.m. early enough for the paper to verify the story before the markets opened. But I wasn't finished yet. The final piece of my plan required a personal touch. I dressed quietly and slipped out of the apartment, taking the service elevator to avoid waking anyone. 20 minutes later, I was standing outside Robert Lambert's Fifth Avenue penthouse. The doorman recognized me immediately. Mrs. Lambert, good morning. Mr. Lambert isn't expecting you. Is he? It's a surprise, I said with my most charming smile. Family emergency. I'm sure he won't mind. Robert Lambert answered his door in a silk robe and slippers, his silver hair perfectly styled even at this early hour. At 68, he was still a handsome man, the kind of wealth and power that aged gracefully. Grace, what on earth are you doing here at this hour? Hello, Robert. I need to speak with you urgently. It's about your son. His face immediately creased with concern. Is Ryan all right? May I come in? He stepped aside, gesturing me into his opulent living room. The apartment was a monument to old money antique furniture, oil paintings, Persian rugs that cost more than most people's cars. What's wrong with Ryan? He asked immediately. Nothing's wrong with Ryan, but there's something very wrong with you. Robert's expression shifted from concern to confusion. I'm sorry. I reached into my purse and pulled out a photograph one my investigator had obtained from Lily's personal collection. It showed a much younger Robert Lambert with his arm around a teenage Lily Wu at what appeared to be a hotel restaurant. "Do you remember this girl, Robert?" The color drained from his face as he stared at the photograph. "Where did you get this?" "From the mother of your son." Robert's legs seemed to give out, and he sank into his leather armchair. "Grace, I don't know what you think. I know that in 2012, you raped a 16-year-old hotel worker named Lily Wu. I know that she became pregnant with your child. I know that she's been working for your son for the past 2 years. And I know that Ryan has been supporting her financially because he believes he's helping a victim of his father's crimes." That's not. She was willing. She was 16. "Robert, even if she had been willing, which we both know she wasn't, it would still have been statutory rape." Robert buried his face in his hands. "How much do you want?" "Excuse me." He looked up at me with desperate eyes. "How much money do you want to make this go away? Name your price." I laughed. Actually laughed at the pathetic display. "You think this is about money? Everything's about money. Grace, you should know that better than anyone." "You're right. Everything is about money, which is why I'm not here to negotiate with you." I stood up and walked to his window, looking out at Central Park bathed in the early morning light. "In about 3 hours, every major news outlet in the country is going to receive a press packet detailing your crimes. The Wall Street Journal will run the lead story. By market close today, Lambert Industries will be worthless." "Grace, please, your son will be arrested for embezzlement. Lily Wu will finally get the justice she deserves, and you will spend whatever time you have left on this earth as a registered sex offender." Robert stood up shakily. "You can't do this. It will destroy innocent people. Ryan, your marriage." "My marriage was destroyed the moment your son decided to lie to me for 2 years. As for innocent people, there's only one truly innocent person in this whole mess, and that's the little boy you fathered when you raped his mother. I never meant for any of this to happen, but it did happen. And now you're going to face the consequences." I walked toward the door, then paused and turned back to face him. "Oh, and Robert, if you're thinking about warning Ryan or trying to flee the country, don't bother. I have people watching you. Any attempt to leave the city or contact your son will simply accelerate the timeline. What do you want from me? I want you to sit here and wait for your world to end. Just like Lily Wu had to sit and wait for her nightmares to begin, when you decided that your wealth and power gave you the right to destroy a child's life. I left Robert Lambert sitting in his opulent apartment, broken and defeated. By the time I returned to my own home, the sun was rising over Manhattan, painting the sky in shades of gold and red. Ryan was in the kitchen when I walked in, already dressed for work and drinking coffee. He looked up with relief when he saw me. "Grace, where were you?" "I was worried. I went for a walk. I needed to think." "And have you decided how you want to handle this situation?" I poured myself a cup of coffee and looked at my husband, really looked at him. Despite everything he'd done, despite all the lies and betrayals, there was still something in his eyes that reminded me of the man I'd fallen in love with. But it was too late for that now. "Yes," I said quietly. "I've decided, thank God. What's the plan?" I sipped my coffee and watched the early morning news on the kitchen television. In about 30 minutes, the first reports would start breaking. The plan is very simple. "Ryan, you're going to learn what it feels like to lose everything you care about." "What do you mean?" I set down my coffee cup and looked him directly in the eyes. I mean that I'm the one who's been threatening Lily. I'm the one who hired the investigators. I'm the one who's been orchestrating all of this. Ryan's face went through a series of expressions: confusion, disbelief, and finally, dawning horror. Grace, what are you saying? I'm saying that in about 25 minutes, your life as you know it is going to end, and I'm going to enjoy watching every second of it. The coffee cup slipped from Ryan's hand and shattered on the kitchen floor. The sound seemed to snap him out of his shock. Grace, what the hell are you talking about? I'm talking about the fact that I've known about your secret family for 6 months. I'm talking about the DNA tests that prove Noah is your half-brother, not your son. I'm talking about the evidence I've compiled that will send both you and your father to prison. Ryan's face had gone completely white. Half-brother. What your father raped Lily Wu when she was 16 years old. Noah is the result of that rape. You've been unknowingly supporting your own half-brother while your father's victim manipulated you into helping her get revenge. That's impossible. The DNA test showed that Noah shares genetic material with Lambert family members. You assumed that meant he was your son. But when I ran a comparison with your father's DNA, the truth became clear. Ryan sank into a kitchen chair, his head in his hands. Oh, God, this can't be happening. It gets better, I continued, my voice perfectly calm. In about 20 minutes, the Wall Street Journal is going to publish a story detailing everything. Your father's crimes, your embezzlement to cover them up, the years of financial fraud. By lunchtime, Lambert Industries will be worthless. Grace, you don't understand. If this comes out, I understand perfectly. That's why I made sure it would come out in the most devastating way possible. Ryan looked up at me with something approaching terror. Why would you do this to us? To us? I laughed coldly. Ryan, there is no us. There hasn't been an us since you decided to start lying to me 2 years ago. I was trying to protect you. You were trying to protect yourself and your precious father and a woman you thought you'd had an affair with. The only person you never bothered to protect was your wife. Down the hall, I could hear movement from the guest room. Lily and Noah were waking up. Grace, please, think about what you're doing. Think about all the innocent people who will be hurt by this. I have thought about it extensively, and I've decided that the only truly innocent person in this whole situation is that little boy in there who deserves to know the truth about his father and to see justice for what was done to his mother. Ryan stood up abruptly, his movements desperate. There has to be another way. We can handle this quietly. Privately, my father can provide financial support for Lily and Noah. You can divorce me if you want, but we don't need to destroy everything your father had 12 years to do the right thing. You had 2 years to tell me the truth. Both of you made your choices. My phone buzzed with a news alert. I glanced at the screen and smiled. And there it is. Breaking. Lambert Industries CEO, accused of corporate fraud to cover father's sex crimes. Ryan lunged for my phone, but I stepped back smoothly. It's too late. Ryan! It's already out there. His phone started ringing immediately. Then the house phone. Within seconds. Both our phones were buzzing constantly with calls from reporters, board members, investors, and family friends. Grace. Lily's voice came from behind us. She was standing in the kitchen doorway, clutching Noah's hand. What's happening? There are reporters outside. Justice, I said simply. Justice is finally happening. Lily's face went pale as she looked between Ryan and me. You told them about Robert. I told everyone about Robert. And about Ryan's embezzlement to support you, and about the fact that Noah is actually Ryan's half-brother. The revelation hit Lily like a physical blow. She staggered backward, her hand flying to her mouth. Half-brother? What do you mean, half-brother? Ryan's voice was barely a whisper. My father. Noah's father is my father. Lily made a choking sound and collapsed against the doorframe. Noah looked up at her with wide, frightened eyes. Mommy, what's wrong? Why is everyone upset? Nothing. Baby. Lily managed to say, nothing's wrong. But everything was wrong. And we all knew it. Ryan's phone rang again. This time, he answered it. What? No, I can't comment. I don't know. I need to speak to our lawyers first. He hung up and looked at me with a mixture of hatred and despair. The board wants an emergency meeting. The SEC is opening an investigation. Our stock has dropped 40% in the last 10 minutes. Good, I said. That's exactly what should happen to companies run by criminals. Grace, please, I'm begging you. Call them back. Tell them it was all a mistake. That the story is false. Use your family's influence to make this go away. No, our marriage is over. Has been over since the day you decided to start lying to me. I walked to the kitchen counter and picked up a manila envelope I'd left there earlier. These are divorce papers. I'm filing today. You'll get nothing in the settlement except whatever legal fees you can afford after you're fired and criminally charged. Ryan stared at the papers like they were a death sentence. Grace, you can't do this. We can work through this. Marriage is supposed to be about forgiveness, about standing by each other. Marriage is supposed to be about honesty and trust. You destroyed both of those things. Lily suddenly straightened up, her face hardening with resolve. This is all my fault. I'll call them back. I'll tell them I made everything up, that I was lying for money. No, you won't, I said firmly, because everything you told them is true, and because you deserve justice for what was done to you. But Noah will be better off knowing the truth than growing up with lies. Trust me on that. The sound of shouting came from outside our building. I walked to the window and looked down to see a crowd of reporters gathered on the sidewalk. Cameras and microphones at the ready. They're here, I announced. The media circus has officially begun. Ryan joined me at the window, his face ashen as he watched the crowd grow larger by the minute. How do we get out of here? You don't. This is your life now. Ryan. This is what happens when you build an empire on lies and crimes. My phone rang. Summer's name appeared on the screen. Grace, are you okay? I just saw the news. I'm fine. Are the divorce papers ready to file? Ready and waiting. But Grace, are you sure about this? Once this is in motion, I've never been more sure of anything in my life. After I hung up, I turned to face the wreckage of my former family. Ryan was sitting at the kitchen table, staring blankly at his phone as it buzzed with increasingly frantic calls. Lily was holding Noah, who had started crying even though he didn't understand what was happening. There's a service elevator that leads to the parking garage. I told them, you can probably avoid the reporters if you go that way. Where are we supposed to go? Lily asked desperately. This story is everywhere. Everyone knows who we are now. That's not my problem anymore. Ryan looked up at me one last time. Grace, I know you hate me right now. I know you think I deserve this. But please, think about Noah. He's just a child. He doesn't deserve to have his life destroyed because of mistakes adults made years ago. For a moment, just a moment, I felt a flicker of sympathy for the little boy who had called Ryan Daddy with such innocent joy just a few days ago. But then I remembered all the nights I'd lain awake, wondering why my husband seemed distant. All the times I'd questioned my own instincts when I suspected something was wrong. All the ways Ryan had made me feel like I was being paranoid or demanding when I asked for basic honesty in our marriage. "Noah will be fine," I said coldly. "Children are resilient. It's the adults who refuse to take responsibility for their actions that cause lasting damage." I gathered my purse and briefcase, stepping carefully around the broken coffee cup that still littered the kitchen floor. I'll be staying at my office for the next few days while the media attention dies down. I trust you'll have your things moved out of here by the end of the week. Grace Ryan started to say something, but I cut him off. "Goodbye, Ryan. I hope it was worth it." As I walked toward the door, I could hear Noah asking his mother in a small, scared voice, "Mommy, why is everyone mad? Did I do something wrong?" I paused for just a moment, my hand on the doorknob. Then I walked out, leaving the Lambert family to face the consequences of 12 years of lies, crimes, and cover-ups. The empire I'd helped build was falling, and I was the one who'd lit the match. And I had absolutely no regrets,